would be on this scarf.
There's a scarf? You write all your soccer friends on there?
This is signed by the 2016 team.
Nice, dude. It's Argyle.
It is.
The team that kept my Hammerheads out of the playoffs.
The team that it was either 2016 or 2017. I'm honestly not terribly sure.
I tried to put James Chambers in my article today, and Carson edited it out.
Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch.
Take it up with management.
Yeah,
I will.
he was right. I tried to list like 14 USL players in there.
Oh, dude, what are you doing? Yeah,
It
man.
was dumb. I'm a terrible writer. Carson saved me.
Phil, I don't know what name's better for you on the scarf. Joseph Samuel
Or
Santi Moores here.
mm-hmm.
A very young Austin Trusty,
Oh,
in fact, is on this scarf.
Joseph Samuel really died and kind of fell off, right?
Yeah.
Name random USL players.
Charlie Raymond, Josh Hurd.
Did he go to Atlanta or no? Am I wrong?
Joseph? Yeah.
I don't know. I'll probably save it for the off season, but we should definitely create one of those Sporkle quizzes that ask people to name every team that's played in USL at some capacity.
Well, if you're doing 2011 forward, that's actually probably.
How many people are gonna? It would be 2011 forward, but how many people would remember VSI Tampa Bay or FC New York, or the three Puerto Rico clubs?
It depends if you have it organized randomly or alphabetically. If it's alphabetically, I think people are gonna figure it out.
Maybe. I think we're giving people too much credit.
Yeah. Maybe if
I
you
don't
want to
even
be
know
more
what the fuck VSI
difficult.
Tampa Bay is, and I've been here.
If you want to be really difficult, just say like who name every player scored over 20 goals in a season, or like 50, or like 12 goals in a season. Something very difficult to deal
What
with.
if we just did name every goal scorer in USL history?
Every one of them.
Just keep plugging away.
That's actually interesting. One could be name every player scored over 25 goals in USL in history.
No. I just want one. Just one. If you bag the goal, I count.
Everyone who's appeared in a game.
Yeah.
Or go difficult. Who's appeared in at least one game, but less than 5 games.
Everyone that's appeared in one but less than 5. Tiger Graham.
Yeah. Anyone can get more than like 3 people. I'd be impressed.
Okay. No, I'll take your bet on that.
Managers who only appeared in one season.
No, I don't want to do that.
No,
All right,
Just
that
a
wouldn't be
manager is
fun.
going to get most people.
Holy shit, he plays for Dartmouth now?
could have been Hart.
Hold on. I'm gonna go back through and just find random USL.
All right, Tiger Graham has one appearance with Bethlehem Steel. Who else? God, he was a really great person. Matt Perella.
See, I think it's going to be if you're the MLS 2 teams, you're going to do much better in this than anyone else will. Because who the heck is going to know someone who appeared one time for one team, unless you're a big fan of the team and cover them.
Okay, of the former clubs, which team do you think would be the toughest for people to name outside of the Puerto Rican sides?
Oh shit, that was really close. Matt Perella had 4. Okay, third one. Samir Badir. No, he played.
Probably VSI Tampa, because everyone's just going to think Tampa Bay Rowdies and
Really, not
Orlando
Phoenix
City
FC?
See, Phoenix FC, well, again, that's me. But to me, Phoenix FC and Arizona United are easy.
Yeah.
Well, Arizona United formed into Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, I mean, you still call them 2 different things. They're 2 different teams.
I'd still consider them the same team.
They acknowledge a rebrand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wikipedia considers them the same.
I think
team
to me
in
they're
existence.
they're enough of different teams, because it wasn't like a
True.
revamp. It was a complete like Charleston is more of a rebrand.
So would you say like the
Okay.
LA Blues went through rebrands or revamps?
That one's tough.
Because I recall them vividly as OC Blues and LA Blues in that time, but obviously this new era, Orange County, has been a lot more
Yeah.
Just
I
better
don't,
than.
yeah. I don't say LA to OC Blues is one, then Blues into Orange County SC is another. But we're getting pretty deep in the weeds on this one now.
Yeah. What do you
And
say
we
we
haven't even
start?
started recording. Or, yeah, if we haven't even started recording, we're
we
already
should
off
do,
the
yeah.
rails.
What's
do,
funny
The
is
Dayton
I-
Dutch Lions.
we've been streaming this to YouTube, so if anyone listens to the beginning of YouTube, they can hear all of that conversation. I forgot
I
to
am
turn
trying to find a third person that's made under more than one, but under 5 USL appearances so hard. And all the guys that I'm like, there's no fucking way. I've made like 10.
I saw you having a good time with yourself over there. You were like smiling while you were searching.
It was because Jamie Lucchini. Okay, there we go. AJ Patterson is the third one for Steel.
Oh, that's a weird one because I think that name's, I kind of recognize that name for some reason.
He plays for the Charleston Battery currently.
Okay, that's why I
Yeah.
recognize that name.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm cheating, but anyway. Jamie Lucchini, he was the guy that like literally the team only signed because he played his college ball at Lehigh, and they were like, "Oh, local guy." Made like 15 appearances in 2016.
Okay, I'm gonna start recording with Audacity here.
Great,
All right, I'm going.
I'm recording.
and we're recording. Phil,
Recording. Good.
great. Hi everybody, welcome to the USL show, your home for handball discussions and weird league change news, I guess. Hiya, Evan Vallal, your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster, favorite cheesemonger's favorite cheesemonger, the most heavily tattooed reporter in USL, and the best. Hi, Mom.
Oh,
It's true, man. It's listen, it's good work. Hey, it's the person that had an objection to that. It's Phil Grooms. He just took a drink of beer, so that'll be a fun thing to have him
No.
respond to.
I don't disagree at all. I think you are the most highly tattooed.
Volume wise, it's true. I think art is subjective, so we can have that discussion. But
I like that. Yeah, that's
we
good.
will not. Anyway, too busy getting degrees to have tattoos. Ryan Allen's here.
Hello, Evan. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. How are you?
Doing okay. Looking into new laptops all day. So
You know, the joys of new technology.
it's about time I get a new one.
Speaking of getting a new one, he should probably have a hobby other than filling out spreadsheets for podcasts. It's Pony.
I heard that dog so tattoo hate with saying best tattoo in the USL. I mean, that one has to be part of it.
It's not great. It's not great. We're still talking about it 2 weeks later. So, I mean, I guess that went well. But, you know, what's worse than the fact that he got a tattoo of that is that US Soccer tried to copyright that.
Oh, really?
Let's not forget. They did. No, that's where the whole thing came from.
That's news to me.
Yeah, they threw a bunch of like copyrights at a wall, as you do when you go to make something for the World Cup in 94 or 96, and Dogso was one of them, and that's what that tattoo is. So at least there's a meaning behind it, but it's still not great. I wouldn't commit to that.
It's great to get a tattoo of inside joke. You know, 10 years later, it's going to be
That
relevant.
too. Yeah. Anyway, hey, handballs happened in the first round of the playoffs. I guess. Well, should we backtrack because we broke some news today, Phil?
Yeah, let's get that over with, I
All
suppose.
right, let's get it over with. Much like how a lot of people felt about these teams last year.
I've seen that comment more than once today.
Hey, you know, listen. The news, if no one saw it earlier this morning, the Beautiful Game Network, which not only does podcasts, we also have a written section, and that written section, elite soccer reporter Phil Groom, who you might have heard of, broke some more news this calendar year. Timbers 2, Orlando City B, and Philadelphia Union 2 are all on the outs, as it were, much to the surprise of nobody really. But it's finally a wish granted in many cases, I think, for a lot of people. And a rumor that I blocked a prominent Sports Illustrated writer on Twitter for is now true, but like 3 years after.
Do you guys feel like you're getting like a little bit of FOMO with this, where like you kind of wanted them to go for a while and now they're going and you're like, oh man, there's some good stuff.
I'm
find
biased.
myself
Ryan
wanting
and
to
Pony
flip
can
flop.
answer that though.
What's that?
Not, yeah. For me,
That's
not
a no?
really. I mean, yeah, we're not losing anyone that to me I go, oh no, they're gone. But does this make Seattle the most isolated team in the USL now?
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
Tacoma is pretty much the
Well,
most
okay,
isolated team.
Tacoma, not
Hey, well,
Seattle.
hey, you know,
They have that S2 logo that we all love as the epitome of graphic design.
I'm still really sad that it just wasn't 2 Space Needles.
RIP Whitecaps 2, I guess.
I mean, and it's interesting going forward because it's also further broken from the Athletic talking about the MLS Reserve League that's going to be formed. However, that there are going to be 4 MLS teams, namely DC United, Real Salt Lake, FC Dallas, and New York Red Bulls, who are going to be opting to keep their MLS 2 teams within the USL system. And 3 of those 4 teams have already won titles at a USL level and have proven to be competitive teams within the USL structure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's there's not a consensus, about like I think a lot of questions that came up today. One was like, hey, are they all going to drop now? And like, I don't think they all want to,
Mhm.
So I don't know if there's a consensus even among the owners and even the leaders of MLS about if they do start that reserve league that Ruder wrote about today, like how would that even look? Do they all want to go or do they not all want to go? It was a lot of fun, interesting rumors out there that I came across.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. And I like the other one that I saw that's really fun is like there's one, and this is always fun to me when it's like, oh, there's one exec that was really bullish about, where it's, oh, we're going to be a Division 3 sanction league, and which like Phil, you and I can start a league tomorrow, and I think we could get D3. Honest to God, I think the requirements for that are: do you have a soccer ball and a nice logo?
Right.
Which isn't a slight on. That's not like I'm not backhanding anybody there. That's literally like you can, if you play in a pitch that's FIFA regulated, I think you're a D3.
Right. I was gonna say, can you rent a baseball stadium?
Yeah, like the bar for entry there is ridiculously low. But then it's like, well, and we think that this reserve MLS NXT, as I'm half jokingly calling it, can compete with USL. And yeah, and some like illusion of grandeur if you're taking these like weird chippy markets away from USL, that's one thing. But at the same time, like no one was going, even before this year, no one was going to Union 2 games. No one was going to Timbers 2 games. No one was going to OCB games. Like they were already built and billing themselves as a U19 plus team.
They were.
Where it was, yep, this is the quote unquote best of our academy, and they're playing against adults now. And from a devil's advocate MLS Reserve League standpoint, which is not a thing I hope to ever be, but who knows? There's been so much damage done to guys like Benefemo and Cole Turner and Zach Zandy and Issa Rayon by losing 5-0 every week. That like, yeah, no shit, you're gonna pull out and try to play them in this super U19 league that's getting off the ground. Because like guys like that getting shelled every week isn't gonna help them at all as players.
It is interesting.
Like, they might be taking a step back by becoming these like way too good to play other 17, 18-year-olds type guys. But like you're losing 3-4-0 every week, or just like an absolute dumpster fire, like some of the two sides were this season. Like what's the point? Because like clearly you don't care at that point, right? Like if you brand your team from minor market outside of the city that our MLS team plays in to city that our MLS team plays in to, you don't care. So like save everyone the trouble and just do whatever this MLS Reserve League thing is going to be.
It is interesting because it's like I said, I think there's disagreement between the owners and coaches or whatever, GMs. And so, but some people do value that they're playing against grown men. Some people think that's really important. And I guess people like Union, maybe they must not, it's weird to me that they could be using this in a good way, and
Well, and that they
all
were.
probably. Go ahead.
Because I mean, how many sorry, I'm gonna get on my soapbox. Fontana, Aronson, McKenzie, Real, Mbizo, Burke. I'm missing people. Elliott, I guess, and McKenzie, and Matt Freeze. Those were all Bethlehem Steel guys, and they're now first team guys, and they're making impacts in various levels. Obviously, Brendan Aronson's the big name. Mark McKenzie's the big name there. But like without breaking your collarbone by running into Forrest Lasso or being challenged by guys like Dane Kelly and Lakim Kosana and Bobby Warshall and Yoshin Groff in your first couple of years as a professional when you're a child, like they probably wouldn't be as good as they are. But when you strip away all those hungry 20-somethings like Santi Moar, like AJ Patterson, guys like that can challenge you in training or even just play better than you in games, and you get rid of those 30-somethings like a James Chambers, like I think Kevin Kerr had a development aspect in Pittsburgh when he played. Like, then you lose all that meaning. So it doesn't, like the USL, it doesn't matter at that point. Who cares where you play? You just got to find these guys playing time until you can either call them up to your first team, loan them out, or ship them out to a team in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, to me, part of it, there's a difference for what they're putting forward between can't and won't put forward a good team. Where some of these MLS2 teams, if they wanted to, they could probably put forward a team who's going to be a playoff side every playoff contention. They might not be the best team in the league, but they could be a good team. Well, I think if you're going to go independent teams like Oklahoma City this year, just to pick on them because I looked at the standings and they're near the bottom with one win. They couldn't put forward a good team this year because they just have the players and the resources. Next year, they could be a playoff team because they could. While some of these teams that have been bad year and year, like I'll go for Timbers because they have been good for a few years, they won't put forward a team who's going to try to win. They're trying to develop players who are not trying to win games. And those are the teams that, for the MLS2 sides, to me, are detrimental to the USL. While if you look, to me, the USL becomes worse when you remove New York 2, when you remove Real Monarchs. That makes the USL a worse league because those teams are having a good mix of the youth and a good mix of the players who are somewhat journeymen but could make MLS. We saw it happen with Real Monarchs last year. Look at how many players they pulled from different teams 2 years ago, threw on the Real Monarchs, won the cup, sent all up to their main squad, and now the team was bad again last year. But that's how a MLS2 team should work for me. They needed talent, young players who we have never heard of, and they needed talent players, great players who we look at and go, why have they not got the chance in MLS? They pull them all together, they prove they have the talent, and then they send them on to their main team to either break into the squad or sell for profit. What do they want to do? That's what we need from the MLS2 sides. The ones who completely refuse to do that are the ones I don't want the USL. And I think the ones who are leaving are the ones who refuse to do that.
Yeah.
To me, it's making the league better by them leaving to their own, we're going to play kids and kids only league.
And even more so, we got into a weird portion of USL where up to a point that MLS was saying it's like you have to put if you're an MLS, you have to either affiliate or put an MLS2 side within the league.
Yep.
And then this recent round, when we brought in FC Cincinnati, when we brought in LAFC, when we brought in Minnesota United, when we brought in the two sides this year with Nashville. And so it was in that weird middle ground of it's like, though they don't really need to be affiliated with anyone, but they also don't need an MLS2 side. It just kind of left everyone in a limbo. And now you're thinking that the 4 teams that are remaining behind actually are committed to building out an academy, to building out a program here within a USL level. I honestly think that's better for the league, and that we shouldn't if a team doesn't want to do that, it shouldn't be forcing them upon that. That's their loss if they don't want to invest in their youth facilities. But the teams that remain obviously are committed to the USL, just the motto to just kind of living the life down here in USL and want to succeed at this level.
That's what the counter to that is only one thing. And, this is funny that I'm the one that's going to say this, but the FOMO thing I was getting to earlier is like, and I'm sure the USL doesn't want to lose every single team partially for this reason, is guys like Tyler Adams, guys like Aronson that are, all these guys that are going to Europe from MLS, most of them played in the USL first. And I do think it helped. You could argue that back and forth to what degree.
Well,
but that's the big part of the USL being able to claim Tyler Adams and
Sure.
Alfonso Davies, of course.
Yeah. And it'll transfer a little bit. I think the problem isn't so much that MLS is setting up a minor league system.
I don't either.
I think the problem, which blows my mind, is that of all teams, Los Angeles Football Club, which you might be familiar with because they are owned by 9 million people and employ Carlos Vela and have Diego Rossi. Also, we're like, that Mark Anthony K guy might be really good, and is. And now they just went, that Mark Segbers guy in Memphis might be really good, and he is, by the way. LAFC shouldn't be the only team in MLS going, and I mean, Atlanta United signed Adam John, but that was a guy that we already kind of knew about. They shouldn't be the only team going, wow, that Mark Anthony K kid is good with the ball at his feet. We should sign him. There shouldn't be the big rich team in MLS should not be the only one that's like, we should put a scout in that second league that we have in this country.
Agree.
And apparently they are.
Well, but that's a big one. We shouldn't go into it too much today, but
No.
like you start this reserve league right now. The main reason that's not happening, we've found, Tutul Rahman had an amazing episode with Scuffed. He was like explaining all the financial reasons why signing a USL player doesn't make sense for an MLS club, because they get Tam and Gam and all these other things from all these other opportunities. And then USL players like, do I sign him or do I sign the South American that's proven useful in MLS? So it's a tough market. Some people are starting to have faith in it. Thank God. But you start this reserve league. If it isn't even sanctioned, which it might not, we don't know if it's going to be sanctioned. There's no rules, you can move these players up for no money. It doesn't have to go toward the cap if MLS doesn't want it to. And so all of a sudden these USL players go toward the cap. These MLS reserve players don't. Which one are you going to choose? You're going to scour one market and you're going to ignore the other market. And I think that's the worst possible scenario for the reserve league. We'll come out with more between now and then, but man, that really hit me today and really hurt me.
Phil, thank you for the segue. Speaking of worst possible scenarios, if you scored a goal with your hand, your team won this week. So congratulations.
Gosh, that hurts, doesn't it? More than one.
Okay, so I got to know Santi Moar as a player rather intimately for about a year. That would have definitely been my first response if he hit a ball as hard as he can towards me. So I'm not super mad about Rising's handball goal. I should be. But that one I'm like, happens. I don't know how you missed that.
That one in the moment, I think everyone thought was a legitimate goal. Yes. At least everyone watching.
Because I've seen dudes hit crosses off their chest like that and have them go in. That's not a outside the realm of physical possibility kind of thing. The other one, a little rough. I will say, Phoenix Rising, thank you so much for being shit heels for the right reasons this week. That's very kind of you. Welcome back.
That's a compliment. Do not take that badly, everyone. Evan loves this.
I am so glad that people hate you for not being idiots about what you say on the field. I'm very glad that people hate you for referees missing calls. That's fine. That's acceptable. Please make it to the finals and do whatever you want from it. So I guess we'll start there. Sacramento, just so incredibly unlucky. But Phoenix, move on.
Yeah, I mean, to me, being from Sacramento, it's gutting to go out the way they went out on this one, because they played well. This was a close game. I mean, maybe Phoenix, you could argue, played a little bit better, but this was a game where if it was 90 minutes, it was a draw, and both teams completely deservedly walked away with a point. I mean, if you're going to see someone played maybe a little bit better, I'd lean to Phoenix, but not by a lot. It's one of those games where if you're going to say who deserved to move on, if you go more than 60-40 to Phoenix, you're overselling Phoenix or underselling what Sacramento did out there. It was a close game. Both teams were right in it the entire time. Both teams had chances. Both teams had good plays on both ends of the ball. It was two very good teams, and especially from Sacramento's standpoint of they always play up or play down to opponents.
Yes.
And they played pretty much right on par with Phoenix the entire match. And I wish this wouldn't have ended the way it would have. I mean, I would have been actually happier if the goal was headed in, because you go, that was a great play. We lost legitimately. We put up a great fight. Oh, I mean, you have to say it is what it is. And I said this, that I don't think it was intentional to punch the ball in the net. I think the ball really came in about a foot lower than Asante was expecting. And it happened to be where his fist was, and the motion sent it into the back of the net. I mean, you could even see not all of even Sacramento players immediately reacted calling for a handball. A few did, but when the entire team is basically on defense expecting a cross and only a few call for the handball before when it goes in, even to the players, it wasn't obvious. And I feel for the ref because he also was getting blocked during this call. There were players kind of falling in the way. It would have been an almost impossible call to say that the team who scored with a few minutes left in the game to call it back without being completely confident. I mean, I don't know how any ref at the USL level says, yes, that was clearly a handball. We're going to take away a game-winning goal. You don't do. You only overturn a call or a result if you're completely sure, because otherwise you look even dumber. I mean, let's imagine this was headed in, and he said, no, it was a handball, call it back, and Sacramento wins on penalties. I think he looks worse than he does today. I mean, you could argue, should there be VAR? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, honestly, I think the way it's set up now with all the difficulties of USL stadiums being in baseball diamonds and college stadiums and soccer stadiums, you can't make it happen. It's not what the USL wanted, especially not with Phoenix being in the news for bad reason 2 weeks in a row, but you have to live with it. Sacramento could have won it before that. Arguably, they had a few chances too. I think they had one shot on goal all game. And it is what it is. You have to create more solid chances than that if you're Sacramento and you want to beat one of the best teams in the league. It's frustrating, but that's what it is.
Ryan, you mentioned VAR earlier. What's your opinion on that one?
Yeah, it seemed like that discussion always kind of flares up around here. I think Sandor had the tweet that just going forward that USL should look at instituting VAR across playoff games. And they had actually, I believe it was back in 2016, they had said the New York Red Bulls too, in their games at Red Bull Arena when they were still playing, they were going to basically have VAR capabilities there and use it as trial matches. But it was only going to be at Red Bull 2 for those games, and no one else in the league was able to get that, which I think would be the same problem that you would run into here. Yes, you would have some teams who would be able to invest in getting VAR capabilities at their stadium and would have that kind of setup, but not every team is going to have that situation. You'd have, say, an FC Tulsa who play at a baseball diamond who wouldn't be able to have that. El Paso wouldn't be able to have that. Reno, not every team is going to be able to be set up like that. And just merely saying, oh, it's an investment that we could all put into doesn't basically exclude the problem that there are just some teams that either can't do it or just simply won't want to pay the extra money for it. But that's kind of that's just kind of what you risk when you play within this league, that there just isn't that capability. You have to trust the refs to do their jobs.
On Twitter, me and Jeff Reuter went back and forth because he said that it needs to happen in the playoffs. Sam Dorr said that it's going to happen if the league is smart in a way. He kind of said that. And then he said they are smart, so it's going to happen in the playoffs. We'll see. But I was worried about the prohibitive cost as well. But Jeff mentioned that the Premier League said to institute it all into every stadium in Premier League that it was £72,000, which was shockingly low to me. Now they probably have more infrastructure where it costs them a little less than
And
the
money.
cost. Maybe some stadiums couldn't do it. I know you guys mentioned that a minute ago, but
Mhm.
I was surprised it was that low a number is the thing. And that's something that a league like the USL
$93,000.
Yeah, it's something that a USL can handle if they split it across all the teams and a little bit of the league helping out, expansion fees, etc. Like I think it could happen. Maybe you start with the playoffs, start small and work your way up. The league's
Hey.
smart. I agree with Sam, so I think they can do it one way or
Yeah.
another.
I'm very glad that he has hockey free agency with the team that employs him to worry about.
Why is that?
You know, I
What do you
just
mean?
I don't know. I don't know. I really do like the guy. I respect the guy a lot. I don't think we need. I think Phoenix having 95 owners of varying levels of involvement and financial involvement is bad enough. I don't need someone that was with their
Mhm.
front office who honestly does care about the league, just kind of getting balled up into that group of really off the rails ownership. So I appreciate Sam's thought, but he doesn't have any direct influence anymore. And sure, like, yeah, I would love to, as someone that also cares about the league, I would love to see them implement VAR, but someone who works for a different organization in a different league now that doesn't really have any direct input, like, yeah, it's a great opinion. It's probably the right opinion, but I don't know how much it's helping, to be fair. I think, yeah, like $93,000, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Is like low in a weird way where you don't think about how cheap some of these teams can be. And I think, like Pony said, like you have problems. Like hell, you had a problem where one of the stadiums you were using didn't have lights, so you couldn't play night games. like you've had that problem as recently as 2 years ago. And so I think you need to figure out your infrastructure. You need to figure out who, by the way, is going to move where now with these teams dropping, as far as how you're going to balance your schedule. I think there's a lot of like infrastructure, quality of life kind of things that you need to figure out before VAR can be a thing every week. Should you maybe try to find a way to do like weird neutral site stuff for your final and for your playoffs to make it a thing? Yeah. But if I'm sitting in the board of directors for USL, I'm not looking at VAR as the number one thing that I need.
Right.
Maybe better refs, but I think that's a combination league pro thing.
And that's something that'll come with time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean that's not a USL problem. That's a pro problem.
But I think
Yeah,
it's
and-
something on the ups though, because we are a newer league as far as our development. Go ahead, Pony. Sorry.
No, I was just thinking, like you're saying, the refs are league problems. I don't think the USL is trying to be cheap into hiring the worst refs they can.
No.
I think they're hiring the best refs after the MLS takes the best ones away from them, and that's probably a USA ref development problem, and not a USL
I
problem.
don't think that's MLS taking the refs away. I think that's
I think if the MLS refs are better than the USL refs, but I think that at least to me, the MLS refs are better than the USL refs. I just think there's
because it's a first division versus a second division thing. That's
it's just that they have the best they could buy at this point. I mean, unless you're gonna say bring in a slew of refs from Mexico or something like that and say we're gonna pay you so much money to come in and ref our games, which you're not gonna do because it doesn't make financial sense. It's like remember a long time ago the USL's not good because the players weren't really there.
Exactly.
And they need to have the refs get to that level now as the players have well surpassed the skill of the refs. And there's no real way to fix that apart from training new refs, which takes so many years.
Yeah, I think that's a conversation that needs to happen on all levels right now, even MLS where they're doing a decent job. It's like refs need development, and we're just now getting the ball rolling in this country as far as soccer is concerned. And I think we probably need to like focus on that a little more in the near future here.
Hey, speaking of focus, the other controversial decision. New Mexico United won. San Antonio FC 0. Guys, that's a bit of a hand there.
Yeah,
Chris
this one was far
clever
worse.
bastard.
Yeah, if you were just watching this one, you went, "Oh, that's a handball. Why didn't they call it handball?" Oh, look, Mexico scored. I mean, to have an example of how blatant it was, there were players on San Antonio who reacted and stopped playing essentially because it was that blatant. Before New Mexico shot, there were defenders on San Antonio that just stopped and went, "Yeah, handball," and it just made it even easier for him to score. That was a horrible call. The Sacramento Phoenix was a bad call. This was a horrible call because everyone watching saw it before the replay happened.
It sucks that weren't they both late in the games and they were both game deciders.
Mm-hmm.
And a team is knocked out of the playoffs because of one handball. It
Both
hurts.
AET goals.
Now, I think we'd be remiss if we're going to mention certain things happening. I think we should mention some people's arguments. Is that I guess other handballs were missed. This is something I hear every effing game. So that's like,
I mean, the best argument is that I think in both of those games, both teams that lost very much had chances to not lose and didn't put them away.
Right. And I would say, at least in my take, up to the point where the handball occurred in both games, the team who the handball benefited was the better team to me in both games. Not by a lot, but they were the better team. It wasn't one of those things where you're completely crushing an opponent and it's still 0-0, you're dominating performance, and then they get a weird fluke goal that shouldn't count. Phoenix was playing slightly better. New Mexico was playing slightly better. Now, should both games probably have gone to PKs? Yes, and that becomes a toss-up. But I don't think any of the teams who lost could go, we were robbed to the point where we should have won that game. They were robbed of a penalty shootout, not robbed of winning a game, if you want to be really technical.
That's a great way to put it. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, San Antonio side of things, just looking at the stat line, like, okay, yep, you had 17 shots, but you had 2 on target. Not great.
Right. Yeah, and didn't New Mexico have I think New Mexico had less shots, but a lot on target, didn't they?
10 shots, 6 on.
Hold up. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. They had less shots.
And actually, San Antonio blocked 7 shots. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like Los Dos stopped all those goals that were goals from Reno and then got a handball at the end of the game. It's not like that.
Right. That would have been that would have been horrible. This was more of the team who played slightly better advanced on a fluke.
Yeah.
It's life.
I'm life. Gonna get angry comments over this take, aren't I?
Oh, one dog.
Well, here's this. I want to say this about San Antonio fans not San Antonio, Phoenix fans are so beaten down right now. And I think it's especially hard for them to be beaten down. And I feel for them. I really do, because none of this shit is their fault.
No.
Not one thing is a fan's fault. And they're taking every comment personally. And I think it's even harder for them. It's like a rich man becoming homeless. You know what I mean? They are a great club that has made several terrible mistakes and then a weird fluke handball that was unfortunately celebrated on the sideline. But
for me giving out to them, they've produced wonderful front office execs and wonderful social media people, and the fact that they put somebody in an NHL front office is incredible.
They're an incredible organization. We've sung their praise for years now.
We still did it just then.
Yeah, they deserve it.
Yeah.
And so fans, please don't take these criticisms personally. And we do feel you. We understand you're upset.
I'll even help a little bit. That wasn't a cross, it was a shot. It was.
That's funny. I mean,
I've seen that every week. I saw it every week for like 30 weeks. That's a shot every time.
That's
He cuts
so
in on his right and tries to hit it from there. Solomon wasn't even supposed to play that in general. It would have been a save, by the way, if it was a full shot. But it was a shot.
Yeah, I think the takeaway is don't take it personally, but don't be smug about it either. That wasn't something you go, that was a great goal, we deserve it. No, don't do that, and don't say I'm the victim.
Anyway,
Just be like, yeah, we got lucky. It was a close game. We maybe played a little bit better. Got a lucky break at the end. We win. Move
bad
on.
for Reno.
What we just did for you, Phoenix, is something we never extended this courtesy to Cincinnati. Okay, so be fucking happy.
Who are they?
Be good fans.
And look at where it got.
Nice. Reward us with niceness.
Yeah. Look at your heroes in Ohio now. Anyway, I feel bad for Reno because they got to play probably the easiest game in the first round.
Yeah. I think
and now they have to play a still angry Phoenix Rising team. So it'll be interesting.
I mean, it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
I mean, Reno could score like no one's business, and their defense is nowhere near defense. Well, I don't want to say it's a joke, but that defense is not a defense of a playoff team, or at least a good playoff team.
Like a 1-0 lead for Reno is not a 1-0 lead for other teams. They need 2 goals.
Yeah, I mean, they need at least 2 goals. I mean, I think if you told me Reno scores 2 goals against Phoenix this week, and I probably would bet Phoenix advances.
Yeah. I mean, a very comprehensive 4-1 win by essentially Corey Herzog.
He had a great game.
Who scores twice, and Foster Langsdorff gets the third.
Which is hard for me to watch. But I want to bring up before we move on, as an aside, real quick, Danny Musovsky has been playing for LAFC. I wanted to make sure we mentioned that today because we missed him earlier when we were on the topic.
Yeah, dude, broke his jaw. And just won, broke his jaw in USL and has now just won MLS Player of the Week randomly.
Scored a brace with them, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one of those guys where it's like, I don't know how he fell to who he fell to. But...
Right.
Yeah. And before we move away from this section, I always want to say this was the section of playoff scores I actually called perfectly.
Good.
I say, and my bracket actually had Reno wins 4-1, and I had Phoenix wins 1-0. So if nothing else, that punch goal hit me 2 of 2 for this section. So Reno, if you can win 3-2, just keep it going, because if I can get all 3 of these games perfectly, I'll take that.
What are you doing awake, mister?
And on the other side of the bracket with FC Tulsa actually taking El Paso to penalties before we saw El Paso advance. But Tony, I saw that you had tweeted out that that was a bit more concerning from Locomotive than we would have had liked to have seen them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a weird defensive game from. I mean, both teams allowed 1 goal that was a complete horrible error. I mean, let's first kind of get that out of the way. But this should have been 1 goal for each team. It was one that goes down. That's 100% on defense. Offense had nothing to do with it. It was just a bust. I think Tulsa tried to head one back and miscommunicated with the keeper, and El Paso tapped the first one in, and then the second one, El Paso's keeper came out, couldn't control the ball, and easy tapping again. But I think the story of this game is, even though this went to penalties, I think El Paso is still the better team. I want to say they hit the bar 4 times this game.
Sounds right.
I heard 4 bars in this game, and then it's like 6 in the last 4 games or something like that. They've been hitting it like crazy.
Yeah, it was one of those where this was a 2-2 game, but it was a 2-2 game where I think if El Paso went out, they'd feel really hard done because they were the better team. Tulsa put up a heck of a lot better fight than I think anyone thought they would. And power to them for that one. I mean, El Paso is on like 500 minutes of not allowing a goal before this game started.
Yeah.
For Tulsa to put 2 on them, even if one was just a mistake from El Paso, that's still really impressive. And Tulsa is probably in the running for most improved team of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Lisbon team out east are going to get to eventually, but this was Tulsa really showed that they weren't just some fluke team. We finished second in the group and we're going to bow out easily.
Yeah.
And El Paso, who a lot of us had going deep, I know I have them. I had to make them to the West final. I have them winning the West, and I think Alan does too. Who's not here? He had them winning the West, and this was kind of concerning. I hope that defense tightens up, or they will not make it that far.
Yeah.
Especially if they play Reno or Phoenix, who will pick them apart if they play as bad at the back line as they did against Tulsa.
Yeah. Credit to El Paso for neutralizing Lebo Milano a little bit, by the way. That's not an easy task.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of games though where that's happened.
That's fair.
Unfortunately, I don't know what it is. I just want to kind of reiterate that. Yeah, I think Tulsa most improved for sure, and I think they're not done improving. I think they're going to be even better next year. So that's kind of the thoughts I had as we move on. Is that I think maybe if they put more pieces around Meloto, he might be even a little more consistent is the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Meloto with the right pieces could be an excellent USL player. I think he's one of those who, if they put the right pieces around him, some MLS team's going to pick him up because he'll just look that good.
Yeah. We get to go east now, right? Yeah. About time. Hey, Phil, you get another one.
Got another one. I think the story here is that Kyle Morton owned the first half belongs to him.
So good.
My gosh.
So
I was talking
good.
to someone today. I think it was Matt Ralph. Yeah, we were talking today about Kyle Morton. He's like, how's he doing? I was like, dude, I knew he'd be good. I assumed he'd just be another Bob Lilly goalkeeper. He's just like next level, though. We've gotten 3 Bob Lilly goalkeepers at St. Louis, and it's hard for me to say this because I like Tomas Gomez and I like Jimmy, but he's the best. Kyle Morton is the best. He's almost in the right spot, can do the quick saves out of nowhere. He's great. And
very
so
good.
Yeah, and Hartford should have scored on us twice at least that he saved, So first half belongs to him. Go ahead, sorry.
Kyle Morton and I both, in fact, from Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In fact, went to rival high schools.
No kidding.
Yeah, the Morton boys. Him and Todd are all.
Did he come through college? I assume.
Yeah.
I forgot.
He went to JMU.
Okay.
But he was a Reading United boy. He was a Lehigh Valley United boy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Just quickly, St. Louis. Thank you.
Yeah.
St. Louis does this thing where they kind of sit back and play conservative with the 3-back system, or else it gets a little too open for them. And so they did that. They got through the first half thanks to Kyle, and slowly but surely they start upping the ante and they start throwing in more and more attack pieces. And I would say St. Louis owned the second half for the most part. They looked better. And as the half wore on, they just got more and more chances, and eventually it paid off with a nice block, a football tackle, and then a goal from Ribas. So it was good. It was a good finish.
Yeah, watching this one for me, it's like for the first 15 minutes, I'm like, oh wow, Hartford's going to actually do this. They're actually looking really good.
Yeah.
And then St. Louis just started turning it on and really didn't look back. After the first 15, 20 minutes, St. Louis was the better team for almost the rest of the game. There are phases where Hartford had a couple chances here and there, but I think overall, comprehensively, St. Louis played better in the game, and it was a deserved win. And I have to say, if there is a storybook movie script for who's going to win the championship, it's St. Louis. I mean, it's one of those where it's like almost like because every Disney movie I've ever seen said St. Louis is going to win the cup this year. They're probably going to win the cup. I mean, we'll see if it makes the run, but it would be the best story. I mean, is there any, from a neutral standpoint, no other team would be as good of a story as St. Louis winning this right now. Right?
Oh, definitely. Credit to Moar Sam for taking the hardest foul
Oh my gosh.
Like, good Lord. And for all the negativity we've given Pro tonight, that's a great decision to let that play on.
Yes.
Kevin
Well done.
Broadley very easily could have brought that back, and in maybe any other instance should have. Because good God, I've just watched it again on replay twice now. He gets cleaned out, but sure enough, keeps it going. And then the other substitute for St. Louis only used 2 that night. Rivas bangs it in, and there's your goal, and that's your game.
He does. Sometimes he does the two subs, and then he usually does them late like that too. It's crazy. It drives me
Ben
crazy.
69, Blackwood 82, and you get your goal 90 plus 3, and you move on to that. Well, it's going to be the final Kings Cup match ever. In fact,
If
St.
St.
Louis-
Louis wins, they can take the cup for themselves and keep it.
Just
Just
never
take it
give
and
it
walk
back.
it away.
yeah, who gets custody of the cup if St. Louis were to win? Like,
Me.
who owns that?
Whoever
It'll be
scored the
someone
winning
back
goal.
Does it just go to like Matt Bird's house? Does he just gets
Matt
it?
Bird, yeah.
Yeah, he just keeps it. Makes a
Whoever
nice
scores the winning
centerpiece.
goal will be some. Yeah, whoever scores the winning goal will be some random player who will retire age like 25 and just hop in his house until he's 100 and talk to his kids like, yeah, I won this 75 years ago.
I don't know if
I
I
could see
think,
Trichu and I could see Sam Fink.
Mm.
Well, those are 2 good shouts. St. Louis
Trichu.
all the way.
I would love Trichu just because it's like, oh, I've been here for a year. Give me that.
Yeah, but he's a St. Louis guy.
Yeah,
He finally got a fun season, like
yeah, yeah. That's
a
fair.
good way to go
Yeah,
out.
yeah. So good on St. Louis. They'll play that pesky Louisville City team who did well, 2-0 win over those Pittsburgh Riverhounds, who have another kind of disappointing playoff exit.
Gosh.
Cam Lancaster, man, 17th minute, and then of all people, it's your boy Corbin Bone, late on. Could have been Brian Ownby, by the way. Could have been. Hoppino and him can't connect on a cross. It could have been them. But
I
no.
just go back to thinking about the regular season that if Pittsburgh would have won their group and would have found a way to that top spot, that they would have avoided Louisville and actually played St. Louis in the first round. That shows how crucial the regular season was. But I think it was Soccer Rabbi on Twitter who actually said, do you think this was the longest Bob Lilly bus ride in the history to go from Louisville back to Pittsburgh after how they lost?
Yes. You can't convince me he didn't just yell at the team for 12 hours.
At least.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
What do you do at
I
that point if
look
the
at
season's over?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it. It was one of those where it wasn't yell. It would have been one thing if Pittsburgh played, if it was a close game or they probably had the better team, but Louisville looked so good. I mean, there's a reason I think most of us said they were going to win the cup at the start of the playoffs, and nothing I saw remotely convinced me that this is a wrong call. I mean, Pittsburgh played well. I mean, I think you could say Pittsburgh played better than almost every other team in the East this round. They looked very good, but when you're playing a team who was as well put together and as cohesive and as free flowing and just, I mean, Louisville, I mean, I don't, okay, let's mention that team again. Louisville looked like Cincinnati's regular season in the last year in the USL, where they just looked good.
Unbeatable.
And it'll take something like what happened with Cincinnati playoffs, where they suddenly fell apart, for Louisville to replicate that, or they're going to win the cup. Because if they play like they have the entire time, it's up to the state. If they play like Pittsburgh for the next 3 games, they've won the cup. And I think it's probably like 50%. If Louisville plays the same game 3 more times, I'd say at least 50% they win the cup, at least.
Hard to argue with that. Really.
Yeah, at least. And that's the funny thing is that, like, there's a chance that the first round of them versus Pittsburgh was the best game of the entire playoffs. There's a chance that this game, St. Louis versus Louisville, could be the best game of the playoffs. Now, this could be a nice transition because I think Pony would prefer to choose someone like Charleston. But I think it's possible that what I just said was correct.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think Charleston is underrated. I think Charleston's underrated. I'll go with that one. I think
Pony, welcome to
are.
my bandwagon. Thank you for coming.
So I've been there for a while. I think I've been saying Charleston's good for a lot of the season. In fact, I picked. I don't think as a collective we picked them in the pick 'em, but I picked them in my bracket. I mean, if you look at my bracket start of the season or start of the playoffs, I have Louisville playing Charleston in the finals of the East, and I still believe that's going to be the case.
We'll see.
We'll talk about it. Charleston
Hopefully we
Battery, 2. In fact, the Charlotte Independents won. Listen, I don't mean to be this guy. Whenever anyone on Twitter says, "Oh, Hugh Roberts isn't going to score," he scores. He always scores. Don't if you see him, don't say, "Oh, you're not going to score." If you tweet at him, don't mention he's not going to score. If you go to a game and he's there, don't be like, "Yo, 3, you're not going to score," because he'll do it. I promise. It happened to me twice. We took him out to lunch and then he scored. It sucked. I literally told him to good luck, but not too much, and then he scored, and I felt bad. Anyway, Hugh Roberts scores for the Charlotte Independents in this game. They, in fact, lose to the Charleston Battery 2-0. Late.
2-1.
I said 2-0. 2-1. See, I did it again. Arthur Bosa with the winner. Another interesting goal, to be fair.
Yeah, I think this is another one of those. I think this was a case of Charleston was the better team, but Charlotte put up a heck of a fight, and again, in 90 minutes, probably deserved a point out of this. But this is
in the regular season. Yes, they would have done.
I mean, it's one of those that. Yeah, I'm just saying, if it's one of those where he said who deserved 3 points, probably no one. Who deserved, but at the same time, it goes longer, and Charleston just kind of slowly wore down Charlotte. I mean, you could, at least to me, you could say the Charlotte goal was unexpected given how the game was going. I thought it was just going to be 1-0 and Charleston was grind the entire thing out, and that was going to be the result.
Yeah.
But Charlotte got their goal. Charleston responded well, and they're on to the next round. And Anheuser again is probably going to not win Coach of the Year, but every single year he should be in the conversation because
we'll have
get to that when we get to play. We'll get to that at some point later when we talk about the awards. But
before
one of the more underappreciated coaches in the entire league.
Oh, easily. Before the final, we'll do a little. We'll try to bring 1 or 2 people. We'll drag a couple people in here and have a who are your awards. Ryan is the resident Carolinian. Is that what we call you?
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. How do we feel?
Yeah, I think Charleston, that was the side that we collectively as a podcast picked to move on to this round. I feel like they match up pretty well here in this conference semifinals. Like Pony had mentioned, that they could very well find themselves into the finals. But yeah, Battery this season have been just quietly just getting the job done, especially in their group and just in the results they've got. I think outside of that 4-3 defeat to the Miami FC, that there really wasn't any glaring truly bad losses or any questioning results, but at least to talk about their opponent for the conference semifinals, an interesting game between Tampa Bay and Birmingham, a lot more higher scoring than I think any of us would have picked.
This was a fun one. At one point I saw Tampa was up 2-0, I believe. And then I think as they're wont to do, they let a team back in. And then they remembered that they were good, or at least better than the team that's in front of them. And nothing makes me happier than seeing old man Lucky M. Kasana score than seeing former Bethlehem Steel Leo Fernandez score, in fact, to make it 4-2. Tampa Bay Rowdies, I don't want to say they cruised, but no, this was the correct result.
They didn't cruise, and it was kind of shocking to me. I thought it would be a little easier for them, but they made up for it in the end.
By the way,
say again.
Jordan Doherty's hit is unreal.
Yeah, at least looking to me, the first half was kind of what I think a lot of us thought it was going to be. Tampa Bay was just dominated the entire half. They proved they were the better team, up 2-0, and Bethlehem did not look. They looked like they were continuing their run from the end of the season, where they didn't really even look much like a playoff team. They looked like a team who's going to get in by merits of having a group that breaks in their favor.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the first 20 minutes of the second half, Bethlehem turned that team we saw for the first 2 months of the regular season and go, oh yeah, if they click, they're actually really, really good.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay looked like they had no idea what was happening until around the 70th minute where Tampa went, wait a minute, we're Tampa Bay. We're a good team. We're here for a reason. And we dominated from the first 45 minutes. So let's just turn it back on for this last half hour. They did that, and Bethlehem kind of reverted into their weird scenario where their pieces aren't coming together in a way they need them to come together, and they gave up 2 more goals, and that was it. I mean, Bethlehem moving forward could be a good team. They just need to learn how to play consistently, I think. That's their problem, is they have moments of playing like this team can make a deep cup run, and they have moments of playing like this team probably will be the underdogs to almost every other side out there. And it's just a matter of condensing that down and learning how to be the team that they need to be instead of the team that they sometimes are. It's weird as that sounds.
Tony, you're playing to my heartstrings, but you've mentioned the town in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, not the town in Alabama. About 5
I
times
did.
now.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just these
I
teams that are mediocre teams to start with a B.
I did it to you because they both also employed Leo Fernandez, and I mentioned he used to play in Lehigh Valley.
Mm-hmm.
My fault.
Well, I mean, looking at our USL pick'ems for this week, we had
7 out of 8, baby.
Oh yeah.
No
although
one's
big
catching up now.
props to Nick Murray, who did pick 8-0 last week.
Dang, I didn't realize that.
I hope
Yeah, he got the only game that we had missed was San Antonio and New Mexico, and he got that one right. But yeah, looking into this week, we had picked Tampa Bay, Louisville, Reno, and El Paso. We were actually in the minority for picking El Paso.
Interesting.
That's why you go with the right pick, not the trendy pick. If this was a logo competition, yep, Tulsa all day, but it's not.
Tampa Bay and Charleston split.
I think that's a hot take. Tulsa's a better logo than El Paso.
Yeah,
and you can leave.
One I think is pretty good.
And locking off.
I agree with you, Bonnie.
Right, y'all.
Well, SC Tulsa's new logos are new kits I really like, but also El Paso I think is running a sale on their first year kits on their website. # not sponsored.
That was the funniest thing, Ryan. I love it. What were you gonna say though? You were gonna say
we are not by them.
What do we got left? Did we get all the games?
We have yes. Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
Can I mention one?
Yeah,
thing?
we did it. Please. Well, and I mean, I think to be fair, we did put in our picks for the next round. So
let's talk about
that. Phil, I'm sorry, it's Louisville.
So said you.
I think there's only one we were actually toss up on, right? By the time all of us weighed in.
Yeah.
Into the group chat we go.
Yeah, I was gonna say now I gotta look at it because that was many hours ago and I don't remember.
It wasn't
Tampa Charleston was the only one we were close on, right?
Yeah, Tampa Charleston was the only one that split us. It was 3-2 with myself, Phil, and Evan picking Tampa, and Alan and Pony taking Charleston. A look behind the curtain, if you will, on the debates that happen behind the scenes.
The brain trust of the USL show.
And then after that, we agreed on everything except for we were unanimous on everything except for Reno Phoenix, whereas Alan had picked Phoenix over Reno.
I think we've all made a terrible mistake, and I'm going to throw Kelsey Steele and Mike Watson, Nick Murray into this with us. I think we're going for narrative points here with Reno. And I don't think we're thinking logically. And I don't think we're thinking who's mad right now. And I don't think we're thinking of, oh, which team is the one that plays in Arizona? And so we pick the one that plays in Nevada, which might be the wrong choice.
Reno's a tough place to play.
We've also now given Phoenix Rising more bulletin board material, and they were not lacking in it. I promise. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Reno did beat Phoenix 2-1 in Reno.
Phil, I'll still let you get your thought in before we wrap it up a little bit. Guys, you get one match to watch this week. Which one are you picking?
St. Louis, Louisville. It's not even close.
Well,
in my
yeah, I
opinion.
mean, of
Yeah,
course. it would.
yours is easy. Yours just have like a tough choice on this one.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's with bias, I suppose, but I'm surprised that another one would be better than that, in my opinion. I think St. Louis.
I think
I'm biased because I think St. Louis has been underestimated this whole time. Maybe they should be. I don't know.
I think Charleston and Tampa Bay have played incredibly well all year. And this one, not that the other ones didn't matter, especially because I think early on in the second season, if you will, Charleston, I think, felt like they were getting overlooked really hard when they were coming up against Tampa Bay. And now this is very much you can really shut some people up on both sides if you win this game. And so I think that's, as much as I like the, please watch St. Louis in their maybe last match ever again, I think that Charleston-Tampa match would make me try to set up a second monitor somewhere. Anyway, Phil, your final thought, please.
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that Aaron Cervantes is being transferred from Orange County SC to Rangers FC.
Yeah.
That's pretty huge. That I think it's the first time we've had a partnership with a European club actually go that direction. We usually just collect a bunch of players and then send them back home when they're done serving their time in the United States. In this case, they're actually taking one of our players and hopefully they think he has potential and they're going to, turn him into something good and maybe sell him on for a profit on top of that. And probably, I think they sold him. I don't think it's a loan. I forgot to look that up. I apologize. But, hopefully there's a sell on percentage that goes to OC if they do sell him. That'd be great. I just wanted to mention that. It's a huge deal, I think. Unfortunately, it happened during the playoffs. So
I think Cervantes is one of those players that everyone who's been following the USL at West knows is an extremely talented keeper. I mean, this is a move I didn't actually ever expect. I mean, I didn't think he would be making this move. I thought like the biggest European move, he might move to like the low-end championship, high-end League One English team. But this is impressive, and it's more than just saying we could have a wonder kid here for a year or two before they move on and become one of the best players in Europe at their position. It's saying we could take people who are very talented at a young age and hopefully catapult their career into something that becomes a lifelong thing, not at the most elite talent, but it's something you can make a lot of money at, be a great player, be loved at a big club. And the more USL does this, the more USL is going to get kids like Cervantes who say, you know what, I'm going to stay in America and play in the USL instead of saying I'm going to go play for, I don't know, like Bayern Munich 3 team in the 5th tier of Germany and hope that works out for me.
So I'm going to temper expectations a little bit and also make them more interesting. He's officially joined Rangers 2. A couple things here. He's 18. Right? So he's got plenty of time. He's a keeper. His market value is apparently, according to Transfermarkt, $165,000 US. The fee's undisclosed because American soccer, so we don't know. But listen, 18, you get your foot in the door at one of the most prestigious clubs in Europe, I'll argue. Here's where Celtic fans go, well, it's not the same club. Okay.
Right.
I get it. They went in administration. Yeah. Okay. And I mean, if nothing else, really nice to see someone go, like Pony said, straight from USL to Europe.
Well, and it's smart. I think it's smart by them too, because it's a good.
Well, what do they have to lose?
Yeah, and why not? Because the U20 World Cup's coming up, and he probably, most likely, right now
will be
keeper for that. Right, assuming everything goes fine. But if he's the number one keeper, the U20 World Cup has been shown more, over and over and over, that is a good place to find talent. And if you do well in something like the U20 World Cup, a la Josh Sargent, clubs will want you. And so, yeah, if he does well, they've got someone valuable on their hands that they could sell on then, or shows how good he is and they make him better. And, we all know how it goes.
Anyway, thank you for
the team. The game to watch to me this weekend is actually going to be Phoenix Reno. I looked at it. Phoenix has allowed multiple goals in 4 of their last 5. Reno has scored multiple goals in 10 of their last 11. So if you like goals, this might be the game for you, because this is going to be chaotic, as Reno knows how to score and doesn't know how to play defense, and Phoenix has been interesting this last few months.
Good shout.
In fact, 3 of these 4 games from in this round of the playoffs have featured teams that played in the same group.
Yeah. Funny
with that Reno game being the one that wasn't teams in the same group.
I talk about weak groups, man. Boy.
Apparently. Yeah, who knew? Maybe you saying talk about weak groups spurred on this weak group revolution, if you will. Hey, the good news is, even though I said that the guys and myself could only watch one game this week, if you wanted to watch either Louisville and St. Louis play, or if you wanted to watch Birmingham and Tampa Bay play, and then you wanted to watch either of those Western Conference games, you can do that, because they start at times that work out for that. Scheduling's great. We only have 4 matches, Anyway, thank you ever so much to Roughneck Scarves, my dear friends over at Icarus FC, and the Beautiful Game Network podcast, for letting us ramble at you this whole time. We have so much to talk about, and hey, thanks for dropping some news in the one day that we record. At least it happened early, I guess, is the positive. Hey, feel free to tweet us at the USL Show. We'll be there. You can find all of us kind of individually as well around that area. Phil does a fun thing where he logs on both accounts and retweets things on both of them. So if you found the one, you probably found Phil. And from there, it's just a matter of looking.
Accidentally half the time.
Hey, I just laugh when it happens. So. I was going to say something earlier on the season, then I went, no, I'll be all right.
Appreciate that.
Until then,
it's not like 2 notifications where
it's boosting our numbers, Pony, and that's all that matters. In a world driven by clicks and news breaks and things like that, Phil's just doing us a service.
I try to retweet you guys at least 3 times more than I retweet myself. Try to be fair.
Well, I mean, I guess that's healthy, because then it displays a notion of not being a narcissist, right? Is that what we're going for?
Trying to hide it.
Yes. Yeah.
Of course.
That makes sense. Anyway, for Pony, who still, God, I love that people still have to acknowledge you as Pony in the USL.
It's weird.
Office. No, I love it though.
The best.
I love it, because they can't say Evan, because then it's like, which one? It's probably you anyway. Still, but for Pony, for Phil, for Ryan, for Alan, who is not here for the rest of the Beautiful Game Network, I guess, and speak on everyone's behalf. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Until then, we have one rule, and that rule: just don't be a dick.